not a curfew.
It was a no-doubter.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome into MASN All Access, presented by the Maryland Lottery, celebrating 50 years of fun and games. Amy Jennings here with Brendan Mortensen, bringing you your top 50 players in the Orioles organization, ranked by us, of course. And this week we have players 20 through 11, and we're getting close to number one, Brendan. Does it get easier or more difficult the closer we get to number one?
Well, I think if you were looking at most teams around the league, you would probably have a much harder time ranking guys 50 through 41, because there aren't any organizations around baseball that are as deep as the Baltimore Orioles, but it's also still hard to rank guys 20 through 11 because with the best record in the American League at this point, there are a lot of players who could be candidates for the top 10. So at this point, when you're ranking 20 to 11, you have to look at the players that are just narrowly missing the top 10 that would probably be top 10 on a lot of other teams around baseball.
So not an easy task for us here at MASN All Access, but we're doing our best. And here is our list for this week, players 20 through 11. And coming in at 19 and 20, Brendan, you have two relievers, both of them injured right now. Michael Givens, who made his reunion with Baltimore this year, but is rehabbing in Norfolk right now. Looks like he's getting close to being back with the big league team. And then Dylan Tate, who we haven't seen at all this year due to an injury. What have these guys shown you so far that still allowed you to rank them so highly?
Well, not much this year, to be completely honest. We haven't seen any of Dylan Tate, haven't seen much of Michael Givens at the big league level. But we're not just looking at this season. If Dylan Tate and Michael Givens were on the field, then they are two of your better relievers on this team. They are the only two relievers really in this org right now that have a really proven track record of success over the last few seasons. They're still not ranked in the upper echelon with guys like Yennier Cano and Felix Bautista, who of course are all-stars having dominant seasons. But with Dylan Tate and Michael Givens, if they were on the field getting close to everyday appearances out of the bullpen, they would be in the top 20 here. They have a proven track record of success, and if they were healthy enough to be on the field, they would be successful. I have no doubt about that.
Then at numbers 17 and 18, you have two infielders in Adam Frazier and Jorge Mateo, although we did see Mateo play a little bit of outfield earlier this week. And then all the way up at number 12, you have Ramon Urias. So how did you rank these guys? Did you factor in Frazier's career prior to coming to Baltimore?
Yeah, I think you have to a little bit, right? I know that on this list, we aren't factoring in guys' potential. So that's why we see somebody like Grayson Rodriguez not in the top 10, because if we were just looking at potential and what kind of player they could be down the line, Grayson Rodriguez would be somebody that's top 5. But with Jorge Mateo, Adam Frazier, and Ramon Urias, you have to look at the track record a little bit. With Adam Frazier, he's just 2 years removed from an all-star appearance in 2021. Really nice big league career, and has had a solid season for the Orioles this year. With Jorge Mateo, he was one of the best defensive shortstops in baseball last season. He was kind of snubbed for the Gold Glove there. And then with Ramon Urias, he did have the Gold Glove at third base, had the most defensive runs saved at the position in the American League. So all three of those guys coming into this year with a lot of helium. They were fantastic over the last few seasons, and so you have to rank them higher. Yes, maybe their play this year hasn't been exactly what we've expected, but still really solid players with a track record of success.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And you brought up Grayson Rodriguez there. The next batch of players on this list is the Orioles rotation, really. And before we get to Grayson Rodriguez, let's start with Jack Flaherty, who you have headlining this list, who the Orioles, of course, acquired at the trade deadline. Why did you put him ahead of some of these arms that have already established themselves in this rotation?
Well, Jack Flaherty, not the highest ranked starting pitcher on this list in general. We could be seeing one of those guys next on our top 10 show. But for Jack Flaherty, again, it's a track record thing. I sound like a broken record here talking about these players ranked 20 through 11. But for Jack Flaherty, you have a 4th place Cy Young finish back in 2019, has shown a ton of potential in St. Louis. He has flashed a ton. So for Jack Flaherty, the reason that I put him over guys like Dean Kramer, Kyle Gibson, and Tyler Wells is just because Flaherty has flashed that very high end of the rotation potential, whereas, Dean Kramer, Tyler Wells, Kyle Gibson, they've all had flashes here and there, but they haven't been as consistent and as promising as Jack Flaherty.
And then right after Jack Flaherty, you have Grayson Rodriguez, who is still kind of freshly back into the rotation. What have you seen from him so far since his return?
Yeah, a lot of good from Grayson Rodriguez since he returned from AAA Norfolk. He's gotten about 5 starts now. The fastball command has looked way better. One of the things with Grayson in his first few starts in the big leagues, he saw a lot of waste pitches where maybe there were some sliders that were just way out of the zone, weren't really competitive. That has gotten a lot better as well. So the fastball command, I think, was the biggest thing first and foremost. We heard from Grayson Rodriguez down in Norfolk that was one of the biggest things that he wanted to correct coming back up to the majors. And when the fastball command is there, everything else is able to work a lot more effectively off of that.
Well, you did get the chance to catch up with Grayson down in Norfolk. You mentioned he was working on that fastball command. Let's hear from Grayson and some of the other things he was working on to get back into this rotation.
Really just being able to locate the fastball. I think that's kind of the main thing to be a starter. Really just command heaters, being able to land off-speed pitches for strikes, put guys away early in the count.
Do you think that was the difference for you? Because you had some great starts, you had some ones that kind of got away from you early. Do you think the fastball command was the biggest thing there?
Yeah, absolutely. In the big leagues, if you start behind in the count, it's really tough to work back. Big league hitters are going to hit their pitch, and when you fall behind, you have to give them their pitch. So really just being able to start out ahead, being in pitchers' counts, and working the game from there.
What are some of the biggest things you're trying to work on now that you're back in AAA here?
Really just kind of get a feel for the slider. That was something that kind of got away from me. Being able to locate it, command the heater to both sides of the plate, up and down, whenever I want, and that's just been the main goal.
I know it's not your preference to be here, but is it nice to be back working with Justin Ramsey again?
Yeah, Ramsey, he's been with me for a while now, so just kind of getting back in the bullpen sessions and the games, having his eyes on me, it's been pretty simple and pretty easy work.
The Maryland Lottery celebrating its 50th year, and each game a Maryland Lottery Fast Play Home Runs richest contestant of the game is selected. The contestant of the game wins $500 from the Maryland Lottery just for being selected, then an additional $500 for each Orioles home run hit that game. And to commemorate the Maryland Lottery's 50th anniversary, the contestant of the game when the Orioles hit their 50th home run of this season won $50,000. And now a second $50,000 will be awarded to someone who enters the contestant in the special drawing to be held in August. For a chance to be selected as a Fast Play Home Run richest contestant of the game, enter Fast Play Home Run richest game tickets into Maryland Lottery Rewards. Visit mdlottery.com/home run riches for details. And Brendan, that wraps up players 20 through 16. Next time we're going to have players 10 through 6. Can you give us a sneak peek of who might be on that list?
Yeah, 10 through 6 was a very hard list to narrow down. This is where you're getting into the everyday starters, maybe an all-star in there as well. Says a lot about this team if there is an all-star ranked somewhere 10 through 6. So a lot of talent to weed through here. It's going to be a fun time breaking down players 10 through 6 on our next show.
So you have to stay tuned for that show. And in the meantime, you can follow along with all of our coverage on MASNsports.com and the MASN app. And of course, on Wednesdays, you have to tune in to the Bird's Nest Show. Matt Bonaparte joins Brendan Mortensen on that every Wednesday on YouTube and Facebook Live. Don't forget about that. And MASN All Access is presented by the Maryland Lottery, celebrating 50 years of fun and games. For Brendan Mortensen, I'm Amy Jennings. We'll catch you next time.